And welcome to Big Bets on Campus Live, presented by BetMGM. It's 10:30 a.m. Eastern on Saturday, and this is the NCAA tournament second round betting preview. I'm Stuckey, and joining me today are my co-hosts, Anthony Dabbundo and Mike Calabrese. Got a lot to get to today. We'll each give out a best bet, plus a little upset special. We'll talk with the one and only universally loved Darren Ravel for a market report, and also bring in legendary Sean Koerner for a couple player props to add to your action today. Do want to remind everyone before we get started to make sure you download the award-winning Action Network app. You can find all of our bets there in addition to an abundance of data and content for today's slate and beyond. And also, BBOC is presented by BetMGM. Use bonus code ACTION when signing up to get $1,000 paid back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. Terms and conditions do apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, let's get right into our first best bets of the day. Anthony, I'm going to kick it to you. First, I got to ask you, tore up the bracket after yesterday with Purdue going down, huh?
Yeah, well, I tried to be somewhat contrarian with Purdue in the Final Four. Thought they had a pretty friendly region, but it was not to be. Death to Matt Painter. No death taxes, Matt Painter this year once again. But they'll win the national title next year, as is history.
Well, you're just setting up your bracket for next year, right? You're taking one for the team this year and just preparing for next year. But what do you got today as far as your best bet?
So we got the first game of the day, Furman and San Diego State. This is a bit of a clash in styles. Furman wants to go pretty fast. San Diego State prefers to be in the half court. I think San Diego State's ability to control the glass and control both ends of the floor will enable them to control the pace and keep this game pretty well in the half court. Furman was able to get some pretty clean looks from the perimeter to get back into that game against Virginia. That's something Virginia's defense will give you. It is going to be much harder to do that against the San Diego State ball pressure and the San Diego State perimeter defense, which is one of the best in the entire country. And this Aztec defense, throughout the first half of Mountain West play and some of the non-conference, there were some pretty troubling signs for their defense, but they have completely changed course in the last month and reverted back to what we remember from old San Diego State, which is you can't get anything at the rim. Nathan Mensah is elite there, and he also can, stick with guards at the perimeter. So, the 5 out of Furman will be a little more difficult to successfully run. And they have been struggling at the offensive end once again. Seiko has regressed as a shooter in the last couple of months, and the offense has become a bit stuck in the mud and turnover prone. And we saw that really against Charleston, where that game was pretty much mucked up from the first ball until the final whistle. So I think this under is my best bet of the day at 137.5. The Aztec defense has improved. Like I said, they're number one in Torvik efficiency in the last month. The offense has fallen off considerably. I think they control the pace. I think they get the win. And I think this game stays under 137.5.
Well, you said you think this is your best bet. I got to tell you, officially it is. It's up on the screen. Yes. This is live. So this is your best bet. Yeah, I think Furman could struggle with the physicality of San Diego State. So you're hoping that the under train continues. I believe full game unders yesterday went 14-2. And this happens every year in the tournament. You got to watch the rims. I swear there's a couple locations where the rims are just so tight and unforgiving. You could usually tell by the sound. It just when there's a miss and it just gong. So hopefully the under train continues for you. Mike, how are you? Hope you're enjoying the madness. What do you got for us today?
I like Duke here, laying, just around one possession. I would play it up to 5. I think this game is not calibrated properly. I see them more as a 6 or 7 point favorite against Tennessee. And it's the narrative that we've all been discussing about the Vols in the last month. Since Ziegler went out, they just can't get it together offensively. And it also reared its ugly head in terms of turnovers. They turned it over 16 times against the Raging Cajuns, survive a 28-point second half, and sneak away with a 4-point victory. That's not going to cut it against a Duke defense that's really put it together. They can guard just about any style of offense. They're up to 17th in KenPom defensive efficiency. And also when it comes to the way that they're playing against the closing number, Duke 7-2 against the spread in the last month. They've covered 6 of those 7 by 7 points or more. So when they have an opportunity for a kill shot, they're taking it and running away from teams. And a big part of that, I think, is Jeremy Roach. He's just really come alive offensively. I think that was the missing piece for them on the perimeter. He has 4 games with 19 plus in his last 6. So I like the Blue Devils here. And as I said, I would play it all the way up to 6.
Yeah, interesting game we'll also talk about later. I know you had Tennessee's funeral planned for the first round, but you're breaking.
It was close. I mean, there was a lot of Cinderellas who got absolutely the floor wiped with them, but the Raging Cajuns were not one of them. Even though they didn't play a very good game offensively, they still were able to hang around. That's the problem with Tennessee right now. They just, even when their defense is playing at an elite level, they can't run away from anybody. So I think that's what makes this bet so advantageous for the Blue Devils.
All right, so Mike's you're gonna have your black on again today for the funeral of Tennessee, just a couple days late. I'm personally gonna go with Arkansas +4 here. I think that they have the length to bother Kansas on the perimeter. You could argue they have more talent that doesn't always come through for Arkansas. Can be a bit inconsistent, which is why I prefer them as an underdog. And they can get to the rim here with success, which they need to do to have success offensively since they really struggle to shoot. We've seen Musselman have a ton of success in this format with back-to-back Elite Eight appearances. So I think this line is just a touch high. I think Arkansas has the talent to play with Kansas right until the end. I think this will be one of the better games of the weekend. All right, now let's transition to some player props. Get some player prop action here and bring in the legendary Sean Koerner. Sean, what do you got, brother?
Thanks, Stuck. So I have 2 props I'm already on for today's slate. And for my first one, I'm going for the very first game between Furman and San Diego State. I'm going with JP Pegues under 12.5 points. Now, he made the game winner against Virginia. He's been on a tear recently, and he's actually cleared this 59% of the time over the last 22 games. However, Furman averaged 81 points a game over that stretch, and they have a team total of 66 against a very good San Diego State defense today, which is 15 points lower than their season average points per game. And Pegues tends to get most of his production from beyond the arc, and San Diego State has been very good against 3-pointers. They've allowed the 6th lowest 3-point percentage in the country. So we're projecting Pegues closer to 10 points with a 63% chance of staying under this number of 12.5. And for my second prop, I'm going to Texas versus Penn State. I'm going Timmy Allen under 6.5 rebounds at +110. He was eased into action in the opening round after missing 3 games due to his knee injury. We're projecting him closer to his 28 to 30-minute role, and we're still showing quite a bit of value on his under here. So there's a chance he's, somewhat limited, not 100% yet, and there's even more value than we're showing right now. But Penn State, they play at a very slow pace, and they rank 8th in the country in effective field goal percentage. So there could be less rebound chances than usual for Allen here. Plus, Penn State shoots a ton of 3-pointers, which can create a little bit more variance when it comes to who's able to clean up the defensive glass, which would likely hurt a player like Allen. So we're projecting him closer to 5.5 rebounds. So we're showing a 65% chance he stays under 6.5. So I like the fact that we're getting +110 odds here as well. So yeah, those are the 2 props I'm on so far today. Back to you, Stuck.
Yeah, Sean mentioned so far, so make sure you follow along on the Action Network app for any additions. Yeah, Pegues might struggle with the length of San Diego State. And you mentioned it, Furman, they tend to play up and down games and they score a lot of points. That's not going to necessarily be the case here. More half-court based games. And Pegues got a lot more run than usual as far as volume of shooting with Bothwell in foul trouble, which might not be the case either today. And yeah, Penn State, one thing they do really well as a team, despite their size, is they crash the defensive glass. They're really good there. So good stuff from Sean. Now let's move on to our second best bet of the day. Anthony, let's kick it back to you. Going with another low guy, huh?
Yeah, this is going to be a sweat from the first minute with the total being as low as it is, but I still like the under 127. We talked about this on our Sunday show that I was looking to play against Northwestern or Boise, whoever came out of that matchup, because I thought both would really struggle offensively against UCLA. And I think, UCLA is a little bit too high for me to play them on the spread here, but I do like the under. Northwestern's defense doesn't have a terrible matchup here. They do have excellent individual defenders. Chase Audige is one of the most underrated defenders in the entire country. I think he can match up, and his length could bother Jaquez a little bit here. And they excel taking away the rim in the mid-range, which is where UCLA wants to get most of their offense. They're not going to shoot very many threes. And if you can guard the mid-range, as we've seen with UCLA, that's where they want to shoot. I do also expect long possessions in this game. Neither team is going to turn it over and allow the other to really get in transition frequently. And I just wonder how successful Boubouis and Audige will be offensively going up against the best defense in the country that's super connected. I think it's very hard to beat them with individual drives to the rim. And they're just, Mick Cronin's not going to allow that. I don't read a ton into the Northwestern offensive outburst against Boise. I felt that Boise was overrated defensively all year, that their metrics were a little bit fraudulent. And so, they had a hot shooting night. They got to the rim with ease. I don't think they'll be able to do that in this matchup. I wouldn't be shocked if Northwestern finished right around 50, 55 points.
Love it. So hoping for more tight rims and the continued unfamiliarity with the new ball. Mike, what do you got?
I mean, we've been talking a lot about Penn State here on the live show. I'm going to go ahead, hitch my wagon to one of the hottest teams in the country, take them on the spread. Micah Shrewsbury is an incredible coach, and in a quick turnaround situation, I think that's an advantage for them. Also, how about this for a prediction? If they upset Texas outright and they go to the Final Four, how about Shrewsbury for the new UT head coaching position? Because I know there's a lot of smoke right now with Georgetown and Notre Dame, but I think there's no limit to his potential if this run continues deep into March. And beyond his backcourt, Jalen Pickett has been tremendous. Andrew Funk has just blown up. Like, he is one of the best shooting players in the country at this point on the perimeter. As Sean pointed out, they're up to 8th in effective field goal percentage. When you pair that with the pace that they play at, this point spread seems to be pretty generous. And then finally, Texas, before their game against Colgate, they were really in a three-point shooting slump, essentially going back to the beginning of the month. They get that positive regression moment. They go 13 from 23 from deep. I don't see that replicating itself here. And really, to me, that's the only way that they can win by 10 plus, a sweat-free situation. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Nittany Lions plus the points.
Yeah, I'll co-sign this with Penn State as my second best bet. You mentioned the pace. Texas wants to play a bit faster. Penn State wants to play slower. I think in the tournament, when you have two polar opposites in terms of pace, it's easier for the team that wants to slow it down to control tempo. Penn State's not going to go after any offensive rebounds, and they're going to get back. They also don't foul. And most importantly, they don't turn it over. So yeah, that's one of the strengths of the Texas defense, is creating turnovers. They're also pretty good in transition. So I think this will be played more at Penn State's pace, which makes it then tougher for a favorite to cover with more limited minutes. But Penn State's just playing way too well here. I do think that there's a coaching edge for the Nittany Lions, which I think is important on these, quick turnarounds on the Saturday, Sunday after playing Thursday, Friday over the first two weekends. So I think the Nittany Lions are live here. I think this game will be played to one or two possessions late. Really looking forward to it. The Nittany Lions have been just an inferno of late. All right, good stuff there on the best bets. We still have an upset special. We'll pick which lower seeded team we think is going to prevail today. But first, we have to check in with the universally loved Mr. Darren Ravel for a market report.
Good morning on another glorious day of college basketball, the first set of games from the round of 32. Let me get you the most interesting splits. Duke, a 3.5-point favorite over Tennessee, getting 85% of the bets and 87% of the money. Kansas, also a 3.5-point favorite over Arkansas, getting 87% of the bets and 81% of the money. Auburn in the Charles Barkley Classic is a 5.5-point dog against Houston, 58% of the bets and 75% of the money on the Tigers. Northwestern, a 7.5-point dog against UCLA. I am here for a reason, but let me just give you the information. 80% of the bets and 76% of the money is on the Bruins. Now, unders are hitting it like a 75% clip, so let me give you some of the totals. Furman, San Diego State, the number's 138, 72% of the bets and 83% of the money is on the under. Duke, Tennessee, 128.5, 67% of the bets and 80% of the money is on the over. And in the most lopsided bet of the day, Princeton, Missouri, 149 is the total. 89% of the bets and 92% of the money is on the under. And a reminder that Big Bets on Campus is presented by BetMGM. Use bonus code ACTION when signing up to get up to $1,000 paid back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Guys, back to you.
All right. Thanks, Darren, for that very monotonous market report. Show some excitement. It's like a couple more Saturdays of college basketball, and then we're going to be starving for some action. It's like, hey, a couple months from now, it's just some baseball you have. We're going to be grinding out relievers. But thank you for that market report. I also want to remind everyone, speaking of excitement, the Action Watch Party in Hoboken, New Jersey at Mad Hatter for the Elite Eight next Saturday. Potential, maybe Duke, Kentucky, I think would be potentially playing if those teams continue to win. Should be a really good time. Everything's free. Just RSVP in the link. I'll tweet it out on my Twitter at Stuckey too. You can also go to actionnetwork.com for more details. Look forward to seeing you there if you're in the Jersey or New York area. All right, one final task of the show, and that's to pick upset special. I don't think we're going to get anything as crazy as we had with, we had Princeton win. We had a 1 seed and Fairleigh Dickinson pull off an upset yesterday. Does the madness continue? Anthony, you got a lower seed you think will advance today?
Well, I'm going to take an underdog and a team that if you follow anybody on earth, everybody and their mom is betting Duke today. Tennessee is technically the higher seed here, catching 3.5 points. These are two elite half-court defenses. It's a very low possession game. It's a very low total game. Both teams have been playing extremely slow in the last month, in the bottom 25 in pace. The market is, I think, inflated on Duke here. Even if you just took the last month of the season alone, the spread would be about Duke minus 3.5. And so that would be throwing out all priors of these teams. I think that's, a little bit inflated here. So I'm going to take Tennessee. I'm going to buck the world again. I tried that with Purdue and they lost to a 16. So hopefully, Tennessee shows up here. I don't know how they scored in the half court, but I also think Duke, unless they're hitting outside shots, is going to have major problems scoring too. So I think this is closer to a coin flip game. So I'm going to take Tennessee as my upset of the day.
Anthony, Mike, I'm head to head here. Mike, what's your upset pick of the day?
Pre-tournament, I called Furman to the Sweet 16 at plus 790. You're not going to get that kind of return here. It's about 2-1 out of the market, but I think Furman is a live dog. And when you look at their performance, they didn't even play well offensively against Virginia, and they were able to survive the last 6 minutes of the game. Bothwell's sitting on the bench against a San Diego State team that the fundamentals are still exactly the same. They're absolutely elite. I won't argue that in any way, shape, or form on the defensive end. But offensively, unless Matt Bradley scores 20 in this game, I think they're going to lose outright. And I think, when you look at what they were able to do defensively against Charleston was a team all year that could shoot their way out of games because they weren't that accurate from the 3-point range. San Diego State only shoots 25% from 3. They go 6 for 11 from the line. They were the beneficiary of a really bad game from Charleston. I don't see that playing out here. I think the Dins are going to bring it offensively. I'm not sure they're going to be able to break the pace clash, but I still think they get it done in the half court. If they can make 8 or 9 threes in this game, I think they're going to win outright. So I'm on them on the money line.
Yeah, the good thing about both your picks is they should be lower possession games, which does favor the underdog. So I think we'll see if Furman can handle San Diego State's physicality. They're going to have to make some threes here against that excellent length. But Mike, you're trusting the men of Fur. I'll finish things up. I got to go with what my first best bet was. I'm going to go with Arkansas here. Second 1 seed to drop before the tournament. I think a lot of people said the two most vulnerable 1 seeds were Purdue, who's already out before the weekend, and Kansas. I think Arkansas has a really good shot of winning this game. Talent-wise, they're right there. They have the length to bother Kansas. They can get to the rim. I think we might see a second one go down before the weekend is over. All right, good stuff there. Quick recap. Anthony went with 2 unders, Furman, San Diego State, Northwestern, UCLA. Mike, you're riding with Duke, the Duke train, and you're going with Penn State. I'm joining you on Penn State and going with Arkansas. Thanks to both of you for joining me. Thanks, of course, to Darren Ravel and Sean Koerner for their time, and to our audio and video teams on the back end. Of course, thanks to all of you for joining in. Good luck on all of your wagers today. One final reminder, make sure that you Download the award-winning Action Network app. You can find all of our bets there in addition to an abundance of data and content for today's slate and beyond. Thanks to our sponsor, BetMGM, and also Big Bets on Campus. Wherever you listen to podcasts, make sure you subscribe and download. We'll have lots of content coming next week before we get ready for the Sweet 16. Enjoy the madness and good luck. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Big Bets on Campus Live. Cheers.